I was reading a book that said for most of Pakistan's history, that country has been ruled by its military. The rest of the time, the people who ran the country lived in fear of their military. Experience had taught them that if they didn't run the country the way the military wanted, the military would start a coup and take over. The guy who runs Pakistan right now was a general who got his job by overthrowing the prior government. We don't usually think of our country as being run by the military, but there sure are a lot of congressmen who seem to be afraid of the military. For the past 4 years, we have been in a war in Iraq. At this point, most people want the war to end. Since the president wants the war to go on, the way to end the war would be for Congress to stop paying for it. So you might think that would be what Congress would do. But they haven't, and it doesn't look like they are about to. There is a bill in Congress right now that would cut the funding for the war, but no one expects it to pass. The reason is Congress is afraid to pass the bill. What are these congressmen afraid of? They are afraid of our military, the companies who make money off the military, and a bunch of people who used to serve in the military. Together, these are our country's militants. We usually only use the word militant when talking about people who are trying to overthrow a regime in a foreign country. But we have militants here too. The dictionary says militants are people who are aggressive or combative. That pretty well describes the folks who have been supporting this war. If someone says the war is unjust, the militants accuse them of not being patriotic. If someone says we should find peaceful solutions to our problems, the militants say that kind of talk endangers our country. The militants think it makes sense for the U.S. to spend more money on its military than the rest of the world combined spends on their militaries. And if a congressman dares to say we should cut the funding for the war, the militants screech that cutting the funds for the war would be abandoning our troops. Congressmen are scared out of their wits by the militants, so Congress just keeps doing what the militants want, even though most of the country wants something else. In Pakistan, when the militants didn't get what they wanted, they took over. Would the militants in our country actually take over if Congress cut the funding for the war? Or is Congress going to keep funding the war because the militants have so intimidated Congress that they don't need to take over? Do the militants already run our country?